Good morning, the students of class 7th. Till now, you have studied maths, science, Hindi, English grammar. Fine. Today, I am going to start your SST, that is social studies. First portion, I am going to teach you history. I am sure that all of you know what is a history. So, history is actually past events, records of past events, whatever had been done earlier. That is a history. We study history in three categories. First, ancient history. Second, medieval history. Third, modern history. In class 6th, you have studied about ancient history, which started from 0th century to 800th century, okay, or 8th century. Because that time, nothing was written, so we don't know much things about it. But second, which you are going to study this year in class 7th, it is known as medieval history or middle history. So it is very lengthy. It begins from 8th century and lasts up to 18th century. Understand that? So obviously it's a very big period. So we divide this big period into two categories. First, early medieval century begins from 8th century and lasts up to 13th century. And late medieval century starts from 13th century to 18th century. So this is early medieval, and from 13th to 18th it is late medieval century. Understand that? So in medieval history you are going to study a lot of things. But in this first lesson we are going to study actually how do you know that what had been done about in 8th century, 9th century, what are the sources? Fine. How do you come to know that these things were actually done or were present in 8th century or 9th century? So actually there are many sources. Understand that? There are many sources through which we come to know. Fine. That what would have been there in 8th century, what kind of houses must be there, what kind of living people might be having. So many sources are there. लोगों को ये कैसे पता चलेगा, हमें कैसे पता चलेगा कि आज से 1000 years back लोग कैसे रहते थे, क्या बोलते थे, क्या खाते थे. फाइन, ये तो श्योर है कि उस समय पिज़्ज़ा अवेलेबल नहीं था, फ़ोन अवेलेबल नहीं थे, तो कैसी लाइफ थी लोगों की. सो दैट्स ऑल वी स्टडी through some sources, and the first source is known as archaeological sources. Archaeology का मतलब ही होता है actually some of the buildings. When you go, lot of buildings which were made in 8th century. So many forts are there. Even in Riva you can see the fort. आपको पता चलेगा कि उस फोर्ट में ईंट नहीं है, सीमेंट नहीं है. वो कैसे बनाया गया है? बड़े बड़े पत्थर से, बड़े बड़े बोल्डर से. अंडरस्टैंड दैट? इसका मतलब है कि इन दोज डेज ब्रिक्स वर नॉट यूज्ड, सीमेंट वॉज नॉट यूज्ड. व्हाट वॉज यूज्ड? बोल्डर्स. और रेस्ट ऑफ द पीपल, उनके पास तो बोल्डर भी नहीं थे, तो वो सब रहते थे कच्चे घर में. अंडरस्टैंड? तो व्हेन वी सी द बिल्डिंग्स वी कम टू नो कि व्हाट काइंड ऑफ हाउसेस people had. When you see some old coins, you will find still some of the gold coins are present, some of the silver coins are there, some of the copper coins are there. That means paper के जो नोट हैं ये नहीं थे उस समय. Understand that? Then when we see the temples, we find the temples were huge, very big temples were there. Okay. एंड टेम्पल में जो भगवान है उनको देख के वी कैन अंडरस्टैंड कि विच गॉड वॉज वेरी पॉपुलर. लाइक पीपल मोस्टली दे वर्शिप्ड लॉर्ड शिवा और लॉर्ड गणेशा और गॉडेस दुर्गा. ठीक है. देन यू कैन सी मैनी मॉन्यूमेंट्स. मॉन्यूमेंट्स इज ऑल्सो अ काइंड ऑफ बिल्डिंग. फाइन. लेकिन वो किसी की याद में बनाए जाते हैं. जैसे अगर हम ताजमहल देखते हैं जो कि 16th सेंचुरी में बना था, वी कैन कम अक्रॉस, वी कैन नो कि उस समय बहुत सारे मार्बल का यूज़ किया गया एंड ह्यूज बिल्डिंग बनाई गई इन द मेमोरी ऑफ मुमताज़ महल. देन वी सी द वीपन्स. नाउ टेल मी कि 8th सेंचुरी में क्या वीपन होंगे. आई एम श्योर कि बड़े पॉइंटेड टाइप के क्या होंगे, स्टोन्स होंगे. ठीक है, पॉइंटेड स्टोन्स होंगे, देन एरो होगा, फाइन, गन तो होंगी नहीं, AK-47 तो होंगी नहीं, तो एरो होगा, देन क्लब होगा, व्हाट इज क्लब, मुगदर, देन क्या होगा, मुगदर के सिवा और क्या होगा, जो भीम यूज़ करते हैं उसे कहते हैं गदा, अंडरस्टैंड दैट। तो दीज थिंग्स वर यूज्ड एज ए वीपन, हथियार। देन कम्स ऑर्नामेंट्स, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ ऑर्नामेंट्स, जेवर लेडीज़ पहनती थी, तो उसमें ज़्यादातर काम होता था पल्स का, ठीक है, पल्स मीन्स मोती, ओके। देन यूटेंसिल्स, अच्छा आप अभी भी गांव में देखते हैं कुछ सारे बर्तन जो बने होते हैं किसके, मिट्टी के, क्ले, तो उस समय मिट्टी के बर्तन बनते थे। लेटर ऑन बनने लगे बर्तन ब्रास के, ब्रास इज व्हाट, पीतल, फिर बनने लगे ब्रॉन्ज के, ब्रॉन्ज इज व्हाट, कांसा, ठीक है। आजकल सारे बर्तन किससे बनते हैं, स्टील के, फाइन। देन व्हाट काइंड ऑफ टूल्स पीपल हैड, टूल्स को सिंपल मीनिंग इज मशीन, तो यू नो दैट आज सारी खेती एग्रीकल्चर किससे होता है, ट्रैक्टर से, लेकिन उस समय क्या होते थे, बुलक्स, ठीक है, बुलक्स यूज टू कैरी प्लो, प्लो मीन्स हल, ओके। देन कुओं से पानी खींचा जाता था विद द हेल्प ऑफ पुली, तो ये टूल्स यूज़ किए जाते थे। तो दीज आर द आर्कियोलॉजिकल सोर्सेज जो हमें बताते हैं कि व्हाट काइंड ऑफ लाइफ पीपल हैड, ओके। सेकंड कम्स लिटरेरी सोर्सेज, लिटरेरी मीन्स एक्चुअली राइटिंग, लिटरेचर, फाइन। वैसे तो दैट टाइम इन 8th और 9th सेंचुरी वेरी फ्यू बुक्स वर रिटन, ठीक है, बहुत ही कम बुक्स लिखी गई बिकॉज पीपल वर नॉट एजुकेटेड, बट स्टिल सम ऑफ द scholars have written their autobiographies. Now what is autobiography? Autobiography का मतलब होता है आत्मकथा। जैसे you know that कि बाबर जब इंडिया आया, he wrote his autobiography which is known as तुज़्क़े बाबरी। अकबर ने autobiography नहीं लिखी, बट अकबर के रॉयल फ्रेंड एंड पोएट दैट इज अबुल फजल, he wrote his biography, ठीक है, ही रोट हिज बायोग्राफी, बायोग्राफी इज एक्चुअली कथा, तो दैट वॉज आईने अकबरी। ये पढ़ के वी कैन कम टू नो कि व्हाट काइंड ऑफ लाइफ डिड किंग्स हैव, ऑब्वियसली दे हैड वेरी लीजर, वेरी कंफर्टेबल लाइफ। सो लिटरेरी सोर्सेज, some of the sources are available in original sources. Original sources means their original books, like lot of Persians came to India and they wrote the books in Persian language, fine. So today all the translations in English and Hindi are available, so Persian sources are there, Persian books are there, lot of Arabic books are there. You know that time Arabia was very close, it was very popular, people used to go to Arabian countries and Arabic people came to India frequently, so lot of Arabic literature is available, fine. And lot of Turkish literature is also available. Why Turkish literature? Because lot of Turkey people came to India, all the sultans means in 8th century, you know that Qutbuddin Aibak came to India and he was Turkish, he came to India and he made his capital Delhi. After that Iltutmish, after that Balban, then his daughter Razia Sultana, they were all Turkish, so obviously their literature is available in Turkish language. Then some of the examples are there, you know that Farishta came to India and he wrote a book Tarikh-e Farishta, which is written in Arabic language. So when we read these books, we can come to know what kind of India was that time. Then another book is very popular book which was written by Al-Baruni, and the book is Tahqiq-e-Hind, that means Hind means India, Hindustan, हिंदुस्तान की तहकीकात, कंडीशन ऑफ इंडिया, और इंडिया वॉज वेरी रिच कंट्री दैट टाइम, इट वॉज अ गोल्डन बर्ड. हु रोट दिस? अल-बरूनी. एंड देन बरानी वॉज अनदर अरेबिक पोएट, ही रोट तारीख़ फरिश्ता, तारीख़ फिरोज शाही. So these books, you can read about these books here. Okay, see, these books, names are here, you can go through these, the name of these books. Okay. Then some of the Indian writers were also there. First was Prithviraj Rasu. Prithviraj Rasu was written by Chand Bardai, and this is the biography of Prithviraj Chauhan. I'm sure that everybody must have heard his name. Prithviraj Chauhan was a great king. He was a great, warrior. So his biography was written by Chand Bardai, who was his friend also. And then Bilhan. Bilhan was a great poet. He had written about Vikramaditya. Okay. Vikramaditya was a great king, and on his name only Indian calendar has been published. Then Kalhan has written Raj Tarangani, and Raj Tarangani is a history of the kings of Kashmir. Fine, and it is a very popular book. So these are some literary sources. Then third source is travelogue. See, travelogue. Now what is a travelogue? Travelogue is actually a traveling account. Traveling account. A lot of people, they came to India, they traveled India, and they wrote many books about India. Some of the examples are there. From Italy, many people came to India. Okay, like Marco Polo came to India from Italy. Niccolo Conti came to India from Italy. And when these people came to India, they wrote many books. Fine, not books, but their travelogues. Fine. So they have written about India. When we read these books, we come to know that what was India, what was the condition of India. Then Nikitan came from Russia. Russia is very far from India, and during those times there was no transportation facility. Can you imagine how did these people came? These people came via sea as far as possible, and then they walked. Fine. Then there was Domingo Pace. Domingo Pace came from Portugal. And from Portugal, many Portuguese came to India after 8th century. Okay. Then Father Montserrat. Father Montserrat also came from Italy. Then Ralph Fitch. He came from England. William Hawkins. He came from England. And then Thomas Roe came from England. When these people travelled India, all of them, they wrote their travelling account, which is known as travelogue. So these are the sources about which we come to know that what kind of India was in 8th century, 9th century, like that. So this is just an introductory lesson, and now what everybody has to do, first question is MCQ, which is very easy, everybody will go through and do it. Second, true and false, this is also very easy, you can go through and do it. Third is fill in the blanks, this is also very easy, first I am telling you, rest you will do. The medieval period comprises 1000 years. Why 1000 years? Because from 8th century to 18th century. Then B and C you will do. Question 4th is very easy. Write the name of the traveller who visited the court of Emperor Akbar. So if you go through this, fine. These are the travelogues. You will find the answer. Okay. Then 5th is who were the dominant ruler of early medieval period. Dominant ruler means main rulers of early medieval period, which is just given in the beginning. Now define the following. You will define just two things, that is travelogue, okay, and then autobiography. Only these two things you have to do. Okay. Now comes a short answer. These both the answer you will do. What were the major historical trends during the medieval period? Trend का मतलब है उस समय कैसा फैशन था, किस तरह लोग रहते थे, क्या पहनते थे, क्या खाते थे, पूजा किसकी करते थे. You know that everything has been given here. Broad historical trends, which is very easy. You go through it and you will come to know. And then you see second question, give some examples of archaeological sources of medieval period. So archaeological sources, I told you this, that buildings, coins, temples, understand that? These are the archaeological sources. Now, until unless you go through the lesson, fine, it is difficult to understand completely. So all of you have to make a reading. See the temples, fine, see the coins, see the paintings. These are all the sources about which we come to know about old India in 8th century. Fine. Then things to remember also you go through, and when you read all these things you will understand the lesson better. So complete the question answers everyone, and today by 3 o'clock I want all the answers. Okay, have a good day.